contractors. Also, just want to point out, I'm a landlord. I'm going to start this conversation off as a landlord because of the fact that I want to talk about Chicago's new renters ordinance that Mayor Johnson's trying to push through City Council. So, if you saw the article from Chicago Tribune today, Mayor Johnson has a series of new ordinances that he wants to pass, and he wants to help tenants because he wants to give a new tenants bill of rights. Look, I 100% get it. There's a lot of problems in the city that are messed up, but the problem is not what he wants to do, it's how he's going about it. And this is the issue that I have. It's that you think that you're going to legislate landlords into giving lower rents. That's not going to happen. It's absolutely not going to happen when all you do is give them more legislation, more rules, more fines, more fees. How are we going to reduce prices and reduce rents for tenants by doing that? That's not the way to do it. In fact, as a contractor, the way to do that is to build more. I mean, obviously I'm a little self-centered here by saying that, but it's true. You need to build more in the city of Chicago to get that done. So how do we do that? Well, first of all, let's talk about what we don't do. My major issue with this ordinance is that they want to fine landlords for everything that's wrong and then use that money to make it more difficult for them to operate. So let me give you an example. Now I know they've peeled back some of this. Initially they were planning on doing something if you gave an unconscionable increase in rent, which they didn't fully define, which was probably part of the problem, that they fine you 10 months of rent or $10,000, whichever was greater. That huge issue right there. That's smacks of rent control, which is part of the reason why they got rid of it. They realized it wasn't going to be enforceable in the courts, and it's probably easier to get the entire bill passed without it. But they still have things like, like you have to have just cause eviction, which I get it. You want to make sure that someone's being evicted for the right reasons and not just because they provided information to the city because you provided a fine or something like that. I get it. There's reasonings behind that, but also consider the reasons why a landlord wants to do an eviction or tell a tenant, hey, we're not going to renew your lease. If they want to sell their property. I'm thinking about the Northwest Ordinance that was passed a year or two ago. It's been a wholehearted disaster in those areas, and a few of the aldermen even rolled back that rule in their districts because of how bad it is. And telling people that you can't evict someone or telling someone that you can't renew their lease because of the fact you have to, when someone is in their 80s and they want to retire and they just want to get rid of their property, it's not feasible. You have to let people do what they want to do in life. Now, I understand tenants are living there, and some people, well, I lived here for 20 years. I get it, but you're a tenant. You're not the owner. You knew that coming in. You always knew that you were the tenant, and that's the challenge right now is that we feel like as landlords we feel like as owners, we should be the one who can decide our future. And I think as people who are investing, you're going to scare off a lot of landlords by not allowing them to have control over a property they bought. I mean, what's the point in buying a property, paying for the mortgage, having all the debt, having all the risk and liability on your side if you can't even decide what you want to do with it 10 years into the future when you're ready to profit? I mean, that just doesn't make sense. And I think they don't understand how much that will hurt the rental market, because if landlords don't have a financial incentive to continue leasing the properties, they won't. And if they don't lease the properties, you won't have enough rental properties out there, which means, one, you'll probably have a higher homeless population. Two, you'll also have higher rents because of the fact that if you have 100,000 rental units and 500,000 people looking for rents, you increase the price as much as you want and you'll probably get it. And you'll probably get the best tenant possible. So keep in mind, the more we keep telling tenants, here's what you could do for your rights, here's what you could do for this, here's how you could fine them for this, the more it's going to hurt them in the long run, because there's not going to be as many people who are going to want to lease properties. This is what happened in New York, by the way. They have rent control there, and it helped initially, but then eventually in the long term, as landlords realized that they couldn't raise rents over time, they would start off the rent a lot higher, and it wouldn't actually help tenants because people move and then all of a sudden they'd have a gigantic increase in their rent and they couldn't afford it, so they get stuck in a place and they didn't like that place. So it just really is not a healthy thing to have rent control. It's also not a healthy thing for landlords. It's not a healthy thing for tenants, because then as a landlord you have to make sure that you're pricing things in, not just for today, you have to be pricing things in for 10, 20 years from now. That's not always possible without having a huge increase in rents. So that's one way that it backfires. Second, in addition to that, they also want to do a registry. And, the registry itself, I get it. It's not a big deal, the cost, like the $50 per month per tenant or whatever they wanted to do. I think it wasn't like outrageous. The problem is that they want to use this registry to help tenants pay for their legal fees for evictions. Now, I have a huge issue with that. Why should I, as a landlord, have to pay $5 to $10 grand to evict someone who hasn't paid their rent? So we had this happen last year to us. Had a tenant who was living in the property for a year and a half. She was a pretty good tenant. Got engaged, sort of changed her, and her new fiance, husband, whatever he is now, he was like, no, you don't have to pay your rent. They didn't go on the lease, and she stopped paying her rent. And I think we were out about 6 to 7 months of rent. Plus, also on her way out, she filed a bogus thing with the building department. We had to get that fixed. So we were out about 10 months of rent. Now, the rent on this was about $1,900 a month. We're talking $19,000. We now had to make that up with higher rents. I mean, we just we paid a lot of money for that process. It sucked. So what I think is the problem is that you have all these people coming in and saying, hey, we want you to have more rights for tenants. They have to have better representation. But what about the fact that like a landlord just spent $19,000 on the rents, then another $5,000 to $10,000 on the legal fees? You're talking about 20, 25 grand, 30 grand to evict a tenant. That's crazy. I mean, why would I not want to raise the fees the next time around? Because that would make more sense, because I have to recoup what I lost on the previous tenant. So if you're going to make that even harder, you're going to increase fees, because you also have to figure in, as a landlord, you have to protect yourself against future events. And this will happen again. Whew, it's getting a little hot out here. Furthermore, in addition to that, one of the other things that we're starting to see is that when you start to go in and you start to pay for the tenants' legal fees, are you going to then pay for the landlord's fees if they win? Which more than likely they will, because they're probably getting evicted because they haven't been paying their rent. So you're paying for one side, you should be paying for the other side. I mean, that's only fair. I mean, or are you going to also recoup us for our lost rent? Because that would actually help contain the price. I'd be more willing to make sure that I didn't increase the price more on rents after an eviction if you said, hey, we'll cover your legal fees and your lost rent. I mean, that would make sense. I'd be more willing to do some type of agreement about that. So just keep in mind, there are some trade-offs here. That said, there's a lot of stuff that's going in here. I'm not going to be able to go line by line through the ordinance right now because I don't have everything. I definitely check out Chicago Tribune. They had an article about it today. I know there's a lot of landlord groups, a lot of tenant groups that are going to be talking about this in the next few months. This is something that's not written in stone, which is the reason why I'm discussing it now. I mean, at the end of the day, my philosophy is if you want to have lower rents, you need to have more rental properties, and that means more building. I mean, that's where I come in as a contractor. That's part of the reason I became a contractor, is because we started flipping properties, and then other investors said, hey, can you do that for us? And the more we could build for other people, the more rental properties we'll have. The more rental properties we'll have, the less you even have to have this conversation, because tenant rents won't go up. Because rents won't go up, it's a balanced market, supply and demand. I don't understand why we're even having this conversation. Have a conversation about how we need more rental properties. And the best way to do that is to encourage landlords. And by the way, if you do a rental registry and you let people know who the landlords are and you have out-of-state investors, they might not come here to Chicago and invest. They might go elsewhere because they don't want their name in every single property that they own. And if that's the case, you're going to discourage private investing in the city, and you're going to lose a lot of rental properties that way as well. So this is Andy Nathan with Creative Smart Contractors. It is a hot day. You can see I'm sweating a little bit. My apologies. But stay cool, stay controlled. Hopefully we'll be able to weather this and get a little bit better perspective on what to do with rental. I hope this was an informative video. Let me know your thoughts. Put a comment in there. And if you need someone to help you with building your next rental property, let us know. CreativeSmartContractors.com/estimate. Let us know. We can schedule a free estimate for you today. We work with owners, investors, and we'll work with tenants if you're working with the owner. So this is Andy Nathan. Have a great day and a better week. Thanks.